Laura asked your question.
Do we own him?
We own a horse.
Oh my god.
Seriously?
Oh,
good.
Yay, congratulations.
I got a story.
Wait, I thought you were going to hug your dad. Hug the horse?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, just ask Dave. This is how it'll always be.
It's not like we had a tower.
I own you.
You have a mom.
You're mine.
You don't have a problem getting in there now.
Hey, you're mine now. You're mine. He's like, I just want my hay. He's like, I don't.
You got a mom.
You're mine now. Oh my gosh. I know. You're mine. Okay, bye. Love you too. Yay. So great. What? Oh, yeah, he's back. Thank you, Mom. Hey y'all, it's me, Laura. Please excuse all of the fans and air conditioning. I just got back inside and it is 117 degrees outside right now.
I wish I was joking.
So anyways, today I'm going to be telling you guys the story about how I got Cherokee. It's actually a really sweet story, one of my favorite stories obviously, but I'm going to be telling it to you guys today. So yeah, let's get started. So it all started in around like September of 2018, maybe October of 2018. I was at a boarding facility and I was riding this guy. He had owned like multiple horses and he mainly had them as like pets, and he was wanting someone to ride his horses for him and work with his horses and do all that stuff. So I took that offer and I did it. So I was working with multiple of his horses. There was mainly one that I was working with who was not Cherokee, and I was riding her and playing with her, turning her out, lunging her, things like that. And then one day I had heard that he was going to be getting a new horse, and his new horse came in who was named Earthquake, who also, spoiler alert, is Cherokee. So I didn't really work with him at first because at the time he had told us that he's going to start riding again, so he was going to be using that horse to ride. So I didn't really work with him. I didn't really do anything with him just because I was like, okay, he's going to be going and riding that horse, so I don't want to like get in the way of that. I'm just going to keep on working with the horses that I was already working with, and yeah. So I didn't really work with him that much, and occasionally I'd see him riding him, and I had like zero attraction to him at all. Like that's one of the biggest things that I find so funny now, is that when I first saw Cherokee, we did not have an immediate connection. I was not attracted to him at all. We did not have an immediate bond. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, whatever, like that's just another horse, no big deal. So then one day he was riding him and I didn't see what happened, but he had fell off of him, and as I said, I didn't see it happen. I had only heard about it after. And after that, he announced that he was going to be selling him. And again, nothing came up in my mind at, oh, I should adopt him. Like, I did not even think that at all. I was just like,
Oh, okay, he's gonna go and sell him, whatever.
I'm going to keep on working with the horses that I was already working with. So he was selling him. I believe he was asking like $5,000 for him. He bought him for around $10,000. And so I'm pretty sure he was asking $5,000 for him. He was selling him. He had different people coming up to look at him. And still during this time, I did not work with him, did not touch him, did not do anything with him. It wasn't until one day, Carly said to me, she's like, hey, do you want to get on Earthquake? And I was like, okay, sure. Like, is that okay with, you know, so-and-so? I'm not going to say his name, but so-and-so. And she said, yeah, go ahead, get on him. So I got on him, I rode him bareback, and I just started riding him with Carly, and
Oh my gosh.
I immediately, from the second I got on him, I knew he was going to be something special to me. I had no idea what, I had no idea why. I had no idea anything about him because as I said, I had zero attraction to him whatsoever. I was just kind of like,
oh, okay, that's like he's a 14-3 buckskin horse, which is not my forte at all.
and I just knew when I was on him that I just did not want to get off. That I knew I just felt like completely safe, completely relaxed, and I just never wanted to get off of him. It was just like the best feeling ever being on him. And I rode him around for a bit, and then after that, I started working with him, with his owner's permission and such, of course. But I started working with him. And throughout that time, other people like at the boarding facility had noticed us working together and would actually watch us without me knowing. They would be watching us work together. And his old owner actually would watch me as well. And I remember Carly, she was like, you need to go see Laura and Earthquake. They are so great together. You need to go and watch them. So he would watch me ride him and lunge him and do all this stuff with him. Eventually, he actually said to me, he's like, wow, you guys work really well together. And I was like, yeah, I guess so. I never would have guessed that I would have worked really well with this horse. I mean, I absolutely love him. I've just fallen in love with him. And I remember him saying something to me along the lines of, well, I'm going to be selling him. And I was just kind of like, yeah. From there, what I didn't know was that the owner was actually talking to my parents about adopting him. And I wasn't really aware of it at first. I was just kind of like, okay, this is a really cool horse. Like, I really love this horse. And just kind of taking advantage of every moment that I could with him, because in my head I was like, okay, he's gonna be sold, so like I just need to keep this like at a minimum so I don't get too attached for when he gets sold. And so, but as I said, I didn't know that my parents were actually already talking to him about adopting him. And so I remember the owner telling me that if I wanted him, he's mine. If I wanted him, he's mine. And I was just kind of like, well, I'm not sure, like I'm gonna have to talk to my parents, I just really don't know. And he said, well, I've watched you guys work together, and if you want him, he's yours. Or I know you'll provide him a really good home. If you want him, he is yours. And so I talked to my parents again, and as I said, I didn't know that my parents had already kind of like sealed the deal with him. And it wasn't until one day I went up to go and ride again, and my dad came with me to the barn. And my parents don't go to the barn with me that often. My dad comes out sometimes, my mom will come out sometimes, but they don't always come out like all the time every single day and stuff. So, but my dad came with me, and I didn't really think much of it. I'm like, oh, he's just gonna come and hang out while I ride or whatever. And then after I rode, I put Earthquake back. We're all sitting down, and I saw my dad and Earthquake's prior owner talking, and I was kind of like, what's going on over there? And then my dad came back over to like the area where we were all sitting, and he sat down, and I remember Carly grabbed her phone and she said to me, she's like, do you have anything to ask your dad? And I was like, I looked at him, I looked at his prior owner, I looked at his stall, and then looked at my dad again, and I was like, do we own him? And my dad was like, we own a horse. And I was like completely just like shocked. I don't like looked shocked in the video. I looked kind of like confused, but I was just like, whoa, this, like it wasn't real to me at all. 2 years later, it's still not real to me. I did get Cherokee 100% for free. His prior owner did give him to us, and so that was really, really cool, and such a blessing from God to be able to just be given this horse who he was originally charging like anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 for him to just give him to me. That was really like really crazy to me, and something that I'm so grateful for to this day. From there, the rest is history. Yeah, that's the story of how I got Cherokee. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys soon. Bye.